every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Primetime news with Nifemi Oguntoye in our top star. President Muhammadu Buhari returns from his 4-day trip to the United States of America. Also in this program, National Economic Council meeting charges state governors to work towards reducing cost of governance. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Boko Haram plans to bomb his house. Outside Nigeria, United States Secretary of State John Kerry defends nuclear deal with Iran before Congress as the only option. And now the news and details. President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to the country after a 4-day visit to the U.S. He returned before dawn on Thursday and was received on arrival by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. While in the U.S., President Buhari met with his American counterpart Barack Obama on security and economic issues. The two leaders discussed Buhari's economic plans and how what the possibility really is of helping Nigeria retrieve about $150 billion alleged to have been stolen by public office holders in the last 10 years. The president also rejected overtures from the Americans on gay rights by telling the U.S. lawmakers that sodomy is prohibited in Nigeria, and as such, gay marriage cannot be legalized. Before returning, Buhari met a cross-section of Nigerians living in the United States and also played host to his old schoolmates at the War College. All thieves, including former ministers and some prominent individuals, have been put on notice. The law is coming after them. Muhammadu Buhari did not give names, but spoke of how they plundered Nigeria's economy by stealing 1 million barrels of crude oil daily, selling the stuff overseas and lodging the proceeds in their personal accounts. Buhari spoke at the Nigerian embassy in Washington, D.C., United States, at a parley with members of Nigeria's diaspora organization, NIDO, as part of his 4-day visit to the U.S. The statement reported that Buhari vowed to trace the accounts of individuals who stashed away ill-gotten oil money, freeze such accounts, recover the loot, and prosecute the culprits. Senate President Bukola Saraki insists that the leadership crisis in the Senate would soon be over. He gave this assurance in response to concerns raised by Labour leaders during a courtesy call in Abuja. Senator Saraki maintained his colleagues are prepared now to put the crisis behind them and concentrate on what Nigerians set them to the National Assembly for. However, there appears to be a crack now in the camp of loyalty group headed by Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila in the House of Representatives, as two members of the caucus have disowned the letter written to the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, John Ojige Oyego, insisting on party supremacy in the selection of the principal officers of the House. Both members also called on the party to accept the Speaker Yakubu Dogara's concession of the two major principal positions to the loyalist group in the interest of peace and stability. Mukhtar Dandusei from Katsina and Tijani Abdulkadir Jobe from Kano, in a statement issued on Wednesday, said the July 18, 2015 letter to Yegun, signed by Honorable Nasir Sani Zango Daura, did not reflect the wishes of the group, as it did not emanate from any formal or collective meeting of the loyalist group. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is convinced of an improved election process in the forthcoming governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. This is contained in the Commission's bulletin issued on Thursday in Abuja. Acting INEC Chairman Amina Zakari gave the assurance at the public presentation of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room report on the 2015 general elections in Abuja. A statement issued by the Commission quotes Zakari as saying that the Commission would apply lessons learned from previous elections in raising the bar during the Kogi and Bayelsa polls. She said INEC would also carry out continuous voter registration exercise in both states, as well as make provisions for voters' transfers in the states. The National Economic Council has resolved the states find ways of reducing cost of governance and to support federal government's efforts to boost the economy. This was part of the decisions taken at the second meeting of the committee chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Presidential Villa Abuja. Speaking to the House correspondents after the meeting, Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode said the governors would have to devise means of boosting the economy.
We do not have a uniform template on how to reduce the cost of governance, but it's very clear that states in their own specific situations will find different ways and means of ensuring that the cost of running government is not as huge as it has always been. So it's left for the states in their respective situations to find the different ways of cutting costs. And what is important is that we cannot continue with the kind of huge burden or huge cost that we are applying to run our government. A situation where you are having a huge percentage of your budget as a recurrent expenditure is obviously not acceptable. And you must look for ways in reducing the cost of administration in the various states.
Organized Labour has dismissed the recent wage cut announced by President Muhammadu Buhari and his deputy Yemi Osinbajo, as well as some state governors, as symbolic gestures that do not address the high cost of governance in the country. The leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress also decried the progressive rise in National Assembly budget from 23 billion naira in 2003 to 154 billion naira in 2011 and demanded a review. These are some of the issues NLC President Ayuba Waba raised with Senate President Bukola Saraki when he led a delegation of Labour leaders to the National Assembly complex. Baziaye reports that the organized Labour also made a case for stronger anti-corruption laws.
The visit is the first interface between organized Labour and the Senate leadership at a time the 8th Senate is still trying to get on its feet after a shaky start. It was one that provided an opportunity for the NLC to table a number of issues it says have been giving Nigerian workers and the masses cause for concern. And the Labour leaders did not waste time in speaking out on corruption and the high cost of governance, among others. On corruption, NLC is of the view that the nation's anti-graft laws need to be strengthened to ensure speedy prosecution of high-profile corruption cases.
NLC believes that the National Assembly has a key role to play in ensuring that justice is not only done, but truly seen to be done. One of the most credible ways of doing this, as I said earlier, is by strengthening the anti-corruption existing laws so that people who steal our collective wealth can be brought to justice far much quicker than we presently have. Corruption will reduce once people know that there is no hiding place for those who perpetrate it, and that corrupt enhancement will not necessarily be able to buy themselves freedom from the long arm of the law.
NLC dismissed the recent 50% cut in the salaries of the president, his deputy, and some governors as a gimmick, and also demanded a downward review of the National Assembly budget.
Some governors have reduced their salaries by 50%. And the president, we are also informed, and the vice president recently, jointly by ordering that their salaries should also be reduced by 50%. The National Assembly has also acted by reducing its annual budget from 150 billion to about 115 billion as a symbolic gesture that our legislators are in tune with the realities of the time. Your Excellency, Nigerians generally do not believe that those gestures from the two arms of government are far-reaching enough to address the question of high cost of governance in the land.
The NLC president demanded more openness in the budget processes of the legislature, while drawing attention to the progressive rise in the spending plan of the lawmakers from 23 billion to 150 billion naira in about 10 years. In his response, the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, put forward the desire of the 8th National Assembly to establish and maintain a link with Nigerians. He also urged organized labor to contribute to the anti-graft crusade by encouraging the average Nigerian worker to speak up on corruption cases where they work.
It is time for all of us, both those of us in the National Assembly, the executive, and the workers as well, that we must show serious commitment. It's not superficial or headline approach, because at the end of the day, I mean, to our workers, when you talk about oil theft, we have workers at the terminals. We have Nigerian workers who are at the terminals, who surely must know when this thing is going on. I think what we have now, we have a great opportunity that we have leadership right at the top, led by the President Buhari, that we believe has a political will to do it right. So the excuse before, where people say, well, even if I bring it up, the system is corrupt right from the top, nothing will happen. I think that excuse has gone now. We are showing you that at the executive side, we have elected President to do it. I'm making the commitment on behalf of the National Assembly, led by myself, that we are committed to do that.
At the end of the visit, organized labor and federal lawmakers agree on the need for proper engagement and dialogue across all segments of society to get the country on the right track. Basiaye, CoreTV News, Abuja.
As the leadership crisis rocking Yaba College of Technology lingers, the National Association of Nigerian Students has thrown its weight behind the management of the institution, led by Margaret Ladipo. Abila Luwali was at the media briefing addressed by the External Affairs of the Association, Ogunkwade Oluwatose.
The Yaba College of Technology has been in the media recently over accusation and counter-accusation on the management of the school resources. Why some parties in the school are calling for the removal of the school rector, Margaret Ladipo, over an alleged financial impropriety, others are saying that the embattled rector should be commended for a landmark achievement in office. This media briefing, addressed by the Vice President of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Ogunkwade Oluwatosin, is to applaud the rector.
Our diligent attention was drawn to the rate of infrastructural and academic growth and development of Yaba College of Technology under the leadership of Dr. Mrs. Margaret Kudirat Ladipo, which would serve as school of thought for other institutions. All of the greatest Nigerian students now spark votes of confidence in the leadership of Yaba College of Technology.
Ogunkwade says the student union is ready to confront any persons or group willing to truncate the consistent progress of the institution.
As an apostle of justice in the temple of peace and orderliness, Nigerian students hereby sign a note of warning to some bodgers and charlatans in the institution and beyond who have chosen to intimidate the progress of Yaba College of Technology by conspiracy and petition blackmailing against the rector of the institution.
Efforts to seek the reactions of the group calling for the removal of the rector over non-performance proved abortive, as people with vested interest battle for the soul of Yaba College of Technology All the students are seeking is peaceful resolution of the crisis in a way that will not have negative effects on the stable academic activities enjoyed by the school. Abiola Oluwole, CoreTV News, Lagos.
We'll take a break now and I'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to our husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Because some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man, you don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, it's CoreTV Primetime News, a recap of our top story. President Muhammadu Buhari returns from his 4-day trip to America. National Economic Council meeting charges state governors to work towards reducing cost of governance. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Boko Haram plans to bomb his house. You can get all of the top stories on any of our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTV News. Our Twitter handle is at CoreTV News NG, and we're streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/CoreTV with a space and news. Students of the University of Benin have taken it upon themselves now to erect a speed brake on the Lagos-Ibadan highway to ease crossing, as well as further reduce an accident on the road. This is coming 2 days after two female students of the University of Benin were crushed by a military vehicle, leading to the death of one and the other in a critical situation. Our Edo correspondent filed in this report presented from us to you.
We did this not just for any other reason, but we believe that this is what we need the school to do for us, and we believe that this will limit the speed, or what we need the government to do for us. Sorry. So, and we believe that by so doing that, this will limit the speed of these drivers or the users of this particular road. So, and what we need again is that we need the government to please come to our aid by constructing how will I put it? By constructing a pedestrian flyover or a pedestrian bridge. You understand? In front of the school main gate, that's the main entrance. It should not be far from the school.
The essence of all this gathering, even if some persons are becoming fatigued, is that we must ensure that this thing dries up. Because we are conscious of the fact that there are some persons who have the act of sabotage in them. They are expecting us to live here and come here and destroy it. Definitely. But we will resist it.
This is not a 2 billion naira spirit of Faluta. Yes. If you allow me to talk, I'll finish there for you. 5 billion. Don't be lying now. They take up this work now. They will say it's 30 billion.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo on Thursday raised the alarm over alleged plan by insurgents to bomb his house. Osinbajo raised the alarm during a meeting of the National Economic Council held inside the presidential villa, Abuja. According to a statement issued at the end of the meeting, Osinbajo, who had told some of the states witnessing insurgency in the northeast, told members of the council that intelligence reports made available to him indicated that insurgents were planning to dump refuse laden with bombs in his house. The council document released by its secretariat did not, however, indicate where his house in question is situated. The statement said Osinbajo regretted that the insurgency had affected the economic life of the Northeast and the country as a whole. The governors elected under the platform of the People's Democratic Party have expressed concern about the rise in insurgent attacks in Northeast region. Rising from a meeting on Wednesday night, the governors urged the military to go the extra mile to stem the tide of attacks on soft targets. The renewed attacks was one of the items on the agenda at the meeting of the PDP Governors Forum.
We're actually enjoying all the armed forces to step up their security measures and actually see how they can actually stem the tide of this menace in the entire country, especially that northeast. It's really a thing.
And all the other states.
It's really a thing of concern to PDP governors that, in spite of all the efforts of the armed forces, these guys are still proving to be a little bit more formidable. So we are sure if the armed forces step up a little bit more, we should be able to curtail. It's really a thing of really sadness to us. We have a brother here who is also the governor of Gombe State. While he was at the meeting, we received another report of another attack. These are things that we believe we all rise up as a country. We should be able to curtail it.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Army says the change in the operational name of the war against insurgency from Operation Zaman Lafia to Lafia Dole is a strategy for total warfare against the terrorists, their sympathizers and sponsors. Army spokesman Colonel Sani Usman revealed that the military is more committed and determined to end the Boko Haram menace now that the command and control center is now fully operational in Maiduguri. He also wants members of the public to continue to provide useful information to the military on the insurgents and their activities. The Nigerian Army has paraded one Samuel Omo who specializes in defrauding unsuspecting members of the public with fake recruitment information into the Army and Customs. The suspect was arrested in Edo State by military police personnel. Army spokesman Colonel Sani Usman disclosed that before Omo's arrest, he's made over 30,000 naira by selling fake forms through the internet.
Reveal the following facts about him. Samuel Omo Eromosole on 9th May 2015 posted an advertisement in the comment section of the website known as www.nigeriabestforum.com, and in that website he posted an advert entitled Nigerian Army Direction Service Commission 2015/2016 online application form. And shortly before his arrest, on the date I mentioned earlier, Eromosele yet again, posing as Precious Ehi, posted an advertisement on a website known as www.gg.com, and the advert was entitled Nigeria Customs Service, NCS for short, 2015/2016 batch online application.
This particular crime is really getting endemic. It starts from innocent impersonation. It gets to obtaining money under false pretense. Of course, there's element of economic sabotage in it. And of course, they are perpetrating it through the instrumentalities of internet. So it constitutes cybercrime. But when the subjects or the accessories of this crime are high-profile personalities, security managers of the country, it calls for serious concern and the interest of all Nigerians.
Meanwhile, sources at the Army headquarters in Abuja said there was no attack carried out by Boko Haram on the house of the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Buratai. This is, however, contrary to reports that went viral in the last 24 hours. The source who spoke to CoreTV News defense correspondent revealed that 2 Boko Haram members with improvised explosive devices who were riding on the bike were killed by troops in the vicinity of the residence of the Chief of Army Staff. He explained that only the terrorists were killed, but their target was not known before their death. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees has reported that a camp deep inside Cameroon is receiving many people fleeing Boko Haram violence in Nigeria, and also that many families are living unstable and dangerous zones at the Nigeria-Cameroon border. Most of the new arrivals had initially stayed close to the border after fleeing clashes between Boko Haram jihadists and Nigerian troops in the hope they could return home quickly and of course get a better life. The UNHCR and Cameroon's government are trying to contact refugees remaining in border territory to see whether they would prefer to come to Minawao or be taken to secure zones inside Nigeria. We'll take another break, and I'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly. Talk to your husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Because some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man. We don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Der Torschütze zum zwischenzeitlichen 1:1. Semenike schickt Musa, da ist Ahmed Musa! Und da ist der Ausgleich!
It's a beautiful Saturday evening in the city of Lagos.
Off the turn, Phelps had it, but then Matsui kept going.
Finals. 5 to shoot. Leonard does.
Sports is concerned, and of course, for all of us here from all of us, I hope one will better.
Welcome back. And now to Katsina, where the killing of a People's Democratic Party chieftain in Katsina Ala last week has continued to raise dust in Benue State following similar concerns raised by the PDP over the murder of 6 of its chieftains in the state, with a call on security agencies and the governor Samuel Otom-led administration to unravel the masterminds of the heinous crime. According to the publicity secretary of the PDP, Godwin Ayiye, in a statement, lamented that these heinous crimes against the party members have so long gone and largely gone unchecked. Our security agencies have no tangible evidence of arrests of the perpetrators of those crimes. However, in a swift reaction, the All Progressives Congress, in a statement by its state chairman, Abba Yaro, absolved itself from the killings and blamed itself from, and of course, blamed internal wrangling in the opposition party for the development. The battle of supremacy between the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria and the National Association of Patent Medicine Dealers has taken a turn for the worse in Ekiti State, The drug dealers in the state are protesting against the closure of shops by the task force of the Pharmacist Council over non-payment of license fees and other issues. Rashid has details from Ekiti.
The long-drawn battle between the Pharmacist Council of Nigeria and the National Association of Patent and Proprietary Medicine Dealers, NAPMED, is getting to the head in Ekiti State. The representative of the Pharmacist Council in Ekiti State have started a clampdown on drug vendors over the past week, precipitating protests across major streets of Ado Ekiti.
Our registration fee before was 2,500, but now it's now 10,500 naira. Registration fee, if I need new intake, is like they collect 7,500 before, but it's now 16,500 naira. We send letter to the so-called Pharmacy Council of Nigeria to stop harassing us before taking this step. And more so, this issue has emanated since 2007 or so. We have impending court case in Federal High Court, Abuja, and whereby everything has to be normal because the case is still in court. They said the case is still in court. If case is in court, all court has to be maintained, and yet they still come out to harass us. My own shop has been under lock and key since on Monday.
The protest, which brought activities to a standstill in Ado Ekiti, took the protesters to the State House of Assembly and Ministry of Health. Officials of the state government, however, promised to intervene in the dispute since it's not a state government task force.
We will instruct the relevant authorities, the law enforcement agencies, to put a stop to all acts of intimidation and harassment of NAPMED members.
We are seriously going to look into it. On behalf of His Excellency and the Ministry of Health.
With NAPMED calling for the intervention of stakeholders to prevent what they describe as a shutdown of all drugs dispensing outlets in the state.
Make sure that all those shops are open so that there will be absolute peace. Without opening that shops, we don't want crisis.
Efforts to reach the representative of the Pharmacist Society proved abortive, as the task force is said to have moved to another town for a continuation of its operations. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
The Arepo area of the Obafemi Owode local government in Ogun State has once again come under the spotlight for the wrong reasons. The area is well known by many for oil pipeline vandalism and bunkering, with the latest episode being the early Tuesday morning explosion, with varying degrees of casualty given by most sources who spoke on the explosion. CoreTV News crew visited the area and brought back this report.
A first-time visitor to Arepo on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Obafemi Owode local government area of Ogun State, we see a sleepy, quiet and peaceful community. On turning into the dusty road leading into this community, a different scene emerges to confront the discerning observer with fear palpable among residents. For the chiefs and residents of the area who declined to speak on camera, the pipeline vandalism and oil bunkering going on is not in Arepo but a neighboring community called Elepete in the Ikorodu local government area of Lagos State. They say Arepo has assumed a larger-than-life image in pipeline vandalism and oil bunkering due to it being the main access point to the island of Elepete from Lagos.
I do hear something about that, but I'm not conversant to such thing. I just sometimes I see through the newspaper and the rest of them, but apart from that, I haven't encountered it.
What did you hear this time? Like yesterday, what did you hear?
No, yesterday I haven't heard anything. As a matter of fact, I don't even live around this environs. So I just came to see one of my friends here, and he didn't tell me anything.
But journalists are here now, and their life is also a danger. It's always a danger. If you're chairman, they even here now from Malauta people passing, some people talking, you can take them and assume them to also be residents as well. That if the wars comes to war.
For the police, with a major logistic issue on their hands, it's an impossible job, but a visit to the scene of the inferno reveals that despite the alleged huge casualty figure, the vandals are still very much in business and are even operating in the area unchallenged and obviously well armed. Unconfirmed reports has it that a photojournalist who visited the area earlier was abducted by the vandals while visiting the family of a deceased resident who died from shock. While this area has been home to the reign of terror by vandals for some years now, one only hopes that something will be done to address this issue before it becomes another bull in the China shop like the Boko Haram insurgents.
Let's go now to Owerri, the Imo State capital, where the strike action embarked upon by workers of the Federal Medical Center there has continued to linger, with the unconcerned parties not shifting their grounds. Our correspondent Ajibade Awofeso visited the medical center and filed in this report. A visit to the premises of the Federal Medical Center Owerri shows that the protesting staff are not planning to sheath their swords soon. The consequence, however, is the unfortunate death of poor citizens who cannot afford private medical care. The workers have resolved to show their grievances this way. Intended public-private partnership (PPP) by the management was what gave rise to the strike. The staff claimed its implementation will make things difficult for the people of the state, as most people will lose their jobs. But the management thinks otherwise. Although the PPP was relaxed by the management, the staff are on strike asking for the dismissal of Angela Onwankwem, the managing director. She's alleged to have mismanaged the promotion arrears, a claim the management has denied. The Minister of Health had in May called on the workers to resume work, while Governor Rochas Okorocha, on request of the President, had visited the hospital. Both efforts, however, proved abortive. Some of the union leaders claimed the grievances with the managing director, Angela Onwankwem, had strengthened the strike action.
I've told you initially that we didn't say this person should go. What we are talking about is investigation. And if you are investigating somebody, the person has to step aside because he can't be a judge. Okay, that is what we are saying. Investigating her, if she's on the seat, you can't investigate. You won't get anything. And if this government is not ready to fight corruption, that means they are not complying with what they told us during their campaign.
It's hoped that the warring factions will sheath their swords in no time, at least for the sake of helpless citizens in dire need of medical help. The Director General of the National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Paul Ohri, has absolved himself of the corruption allegations leveled against him by a former Director of Finance in the agency, Ademola Mogojuri. The allegations came amid wrangling between Ohri and Mogojuri. Ohri, while speaking on the crisis, explained that throughout his records, he has led the agency in a transparent manner and followed due process in awarding contracts. He debunked claims of mismanaging funds generated by NAFDAC, stating that though the agency was financially indebted, funds accruing to it have been used to build and upgrade much-needed infrastructure in NAFDAC offices across the nation. Nguruji was said to have been transferred to NAFDAC's Training Institute in Kaduna after being removed as finance director, an action he said was a fallout of a strong opposition against cases of reckless financial mismanagement carried out by the DG. To stories outside Nigeria now, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has defended a nuclear deal with Iran, calling it the only viable option for a peaceful resolution of the issue. He told the U.S. Senate's Foreign Relations Committee that they need to set out to dismantle Iran's ability to build a nuclear weapon, and indeed they've achieved that. The Republican presidential hopeful Marco Rubio told him the deal was fundamentally flawed. Iran's president has also been defending last week's accord. Hassan Rouhani, in a speech broadcast live on television, said the deal represented a new page in history and was wanted by the Iranian people. Under the deal, Iran must curb its nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. Tehran has always insisted its nuclear ambitions are peaceful and energy related.
I'm concerned about Iran's growing efforts in the region, and we've made it very clear that is an administration concern. Their influence in Yemen, their influence in Beirut and Lebanon, their influence in Syria, in Damascus and Hezbollah, and of course their influence in Iraq. But I think you have to look historically. I mean, a lot of things are happening right now in the region, to be honest with you. And the history between Persia, Persian Shia, and Arab world and Arab Shia is complicated. Remember, Iraq and Iran had a 10-year war.
John Kerry, U.S. Secretary of State. Well, Greece has taken a crucial step towards a bailout after its parliament passed a second set of reforms. The passage of the measures means the negotiations on an 86 billion European Union bailout can begin. The reforms include changes to Greek banking and an overhaul of the judiciary system. Thousands demonstrated outside of Parliament as the bill was debated, with protests briefly turning violent as petrol bombs were thrown at police. There had been fears of a rebellion by MPs, but Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras was easily able to muster the support required. In total, the measures received 230 votes in favor, 63 against, with 5 abstentions. Among those who voted against were 31 members of the own Syria party. However, this represents a smaller rebellion than in last week's initial vote. And now to business stories. The South African ambassador to Nigeria, Lulu Migunu, on Wednesday said there was no information on the reported release of $15 million arms funds that was confiscated from the federal government in 2014. There had been reports that the money had been released to Nigeria, but the envoy stated that he is yet to get any brief on the issue from his government. The ambassador promised to find out the status of the subject from Pretoria, but when the correspondent contacted him on Monday, he explained that he's yet to get a feedback from authorities in South Africa. The Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria is urging the Buhari administration to abandon the 2015 budget because it does not reflect current economic realities. The advice formed the core of deliberations at a one-day workshop of the Institute in Abuja. According to the Institute, a total redirection of the economic policy and critical review of the budget is necessary for survival. The Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) of the Central Bank of Nigeria will commence its 245th meeting this Thursday and is expected to take critical decisions that would determine the fate of the Naira, which has been under intense pressure at the parallel market in the past few weeks. The two-day meeting holds in Abuja. The MPC, which was operational independence in determining monetary policy, will be meeting for the 4th time this year. The Naira, which sells for 196 Naira 95 kobo to a dollar on the interbank market, goes for about 240 Naira to a dollar at parallel market points across major cities in the country. The depreciation of the Naira had heightened the debate on the devaluation of the currency, while the central bank has maintained that its decision not to undertake a further devaluation of the Naira was as a result of the need to safeguard the Nigerian economy from the shocks and negative impact this would have on the economy. And now to sports. Celtic recovered from a shock early goal from St. Johnny to stroll into a Champions League qualifying tie against Karabakh of Azerbaijan. Olafur Kalfisen's precise finish briefly gave the Island Dig part-timers hope of overturning a 2-0 deficit from the first leg in Glasgow. But a net-beaten Eder and low Charlie Mogru drew either side of the interval, put the tie beyond St. Johnny. Lead goals from Leigh Griffiths and Stefan Johansson added the gloss. It means now that the Scottish champions will face Karabakh, who defeated Ruda Jalja 1-0 in aggregate thanks to a near-post header from Reynaldo in the penultimate qualifying round. There was no hint of danger for Celtic in the opening minutes as they stroked the ball majestically around an artificial surface sparkling in the Islandic sunshine. Liverpool wrapped up a deal for Christian Benteke on Wednesday, luring the target man to Anfield on a long-term contract, having finally struck a deal to price the Belgian powerhouse away from Aston Villa. According to the Liverpool website, the 24-year-old put pen to paper on a long-term contract with the Reds today after successfully completing a medical in London, bringing to a close several weeks of negotiations between the clubs. British media reported last week that the Merseysiders had finally agreed to meet a £32.5 million release clause in the striker's contract, having previously sought and failed to persuade the Midlands club to reduce their asking price. To end CoreTV Primetime News tonight, a recap of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari is back from the United States of America. We also reported that the National Economic Council meeting has charged state governors to work towards reducing the cost of governance. On the news tonight, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Boko Haram plans to bomb his house. It's a wrap on the news tonight on behalf of everyone here.